Axel does a good job of finding the right riders to follow during a Superpole session.
Yes, and Bassani has every reason to be optimistic here in Misano. His best round of last season on the Kawasaki was around this venue. He looked strong in the recent test, and provisionally up on the second place on the grid. The problem is that the margins from second place down are so narrow. There are a lot of positions to be won and lost in the final 5 minutes here of Superpole.
Yeah, I said you were going to have to be in the 32s to be on the front two rows of the grid. I think that obviously with Montella 33.0 down towards the likes of Johnny Ray, Lackawanna and 33.3s, maybe even Van der Mark because he's in this group, they could all get themselves down into the 32s. So it's really going to be tight. A hundredth of a second, a tenth of a second is going to make a big difference to these riders.
Alex Lowe's just on the back of that group, looking over his shoulder to see how many riders are following in behind him. An opportunity here for Alex Lowe's because the benchmark is his teammate up in P2. So there is an opportunity for Alex to climb further still. Sam Lowe's up and running with his flying lap, first of this final stint, along with Jari Montella.
Yeah, really good middle sector for Sam as well. Over a tenth of a second faster than Bulica's current pole time. Bulica was a little bit slower than Bautista in Sector 2 through the course of the weekend so far. But good effort by Sam. Faster again in Sector 3. That's where we have seen that Bulica's been really good. And then Sector 4 as well. So this could be a really good lap from the number 14 coming in.
Sam Lowe's already a strong qualifier last year. He has made it the cornerstone of a successful step forward this season. Third in the Superpole Award with 2 front row starts already to his name. Pole sitter at the Dutch round and second on the grid in our last visit to Italy 6 weeks ago. And he's back into P2 provisionally here with the first flying lap of his second stint to 1 minute 32.419. Jari Montella crossing the line before Sam Lowe's has done enough to move up into P5. So splitting Toprak Razgatlioglu and Danilo Petrucci on the second row of the grid. Razgatlioglu making his way through Sector 2 is already a tenth of a second up.
Look at how it's already stretched out with Toprak in front of Bassani, and Gerloff's done a good job to get onto the back of Alex Lowe's as well, and 5 riders now all working together. It looked like maybe Lowe's sat up a little bit there coming through turn 8, and he looks like he's missed his spot in that group now, so
yeah, Garrett Gerloff coming through in front of him, so this lap has gone away from Alex Lowe's, but it's all about Toprak Razgatlioglu. 2/10 of a second now up on Nicolo Buliga at the halfway mark on this flying lap. Remember, there was less than a tenth of a second between Toprak Razgatlioglu and Nicolo Buliga in Superpole last time out. Toprak taking what was his 20th WorldSBK pole. Alvaro Bautista down in 12th place at present. An opportunity to at least move on to the second row of the grid with this lap, though. He's 0.6 of a second down on Buliga after 3 completed sectors, and he's done enough for P7. It's not what Bautista would have been hoping for in a Misano weekend where he's looked good thus far, but this is going to be provisional pole for Toprak Razgatlioglu, and he's the first rider into the 1 minute 31s here in Misano. It's a 1:31.856, a quarter of a second faster than Nicolo Buliga, and that yields a smile from his crew chief Phil Marin back in the BMW pit box.
I couldn't help but react to that. That's a half a second under the lap record from last year, and for Razgatlioglu, that's a super lap. But let's see what Bulica can do. Halfway around the lap, he's up by a tenth of a second.
Toprak Razgatlioglu will go for another lap, but he's a tenth down after Sector 1. Razgatlioglu then leads the way. 1 minute 31.856 is the target time. This is Andrea Locatelli, currently in 10th position. He does enough to move up into P5, but as for the battle for pole between Razgatlioglu and Buliga, it's over to Nicolo Buliga now to put in an effort to try and close down on that P1. Axel Bassani, third fastest, remember. Half a second down on Razgatlioglu. Then it's Sam Lowe's, Andrea Locatelli and Jari Montella. Third row of the grid, Petrucci, Bautista, Iannone. What a power pack third row that is. Petrucci and Iannone both on improved laps here. Petrucci moves in front of his teammate Montella for 6th place. Locatelli successfully defending P5. Nicolo Buliga across the line, a 1:31.618. 2/10 of a second faster than Toprak Razgatlioglu, and another new lap record in Superpole with just a minute to go.
That is ridiculous there from Buliga. 31.6, that's a super lap, but you can see Iannone was able to get tagging onto the back of him up onto that second row of the grid as well.
Remy Gardner never out of the top 10 in Superpole this season so far, looks set to extend that run. It's P5 for Gardner. And that draws the applause of the GRT, a Yamaha pit box. He will be relegated by Alex Lowe's on his final lap. Moves up into P5, 30 seconds to go. Bulliger, Razgatlioglu, Bassani, Sam Lowe's, Alex Lowe's and Remy Gardner. Third row of the grid, Giannone and Locatelli have both had this lap deleted, so they're not going to improve this time around. And Danilo Petrucci also 0.6 of a second down behind. So it doesn't look as though there's any improvement for those riders. Xavi Vierge making his return from injury this weekend, remember, down in 18th place at the moment with his teammate Iker Lecuona in P12. It's going to have to be a very special final sector here for Xavi Vierge to make any improvement from his current position. 2 seconds down on Nicolo Bulliger. Well, he's done just enough to pip Scott Redding, and another miserable start to the weekend for Redding, who is relegated down into 18th place. But it's not going to affect your leaders. Bulliger, Razgatlioglu and Axel Bassani, your top three. And a bit of a surprise there, particularly in the third man. A brilliant display from Bassani. And his first front row start since Imola 2023. Yeah,
he picked the right rider to follow and was able to set his time, but you've still got to set the lap time, and 32.3 for Bassani, only a couple of hundredths of a second off the lap record coming into the session as well, so that's a really good lap from him. Good to be able to see Alex Lowe's up there as well, so the Bermuda's working really well. Both those riders within a 10th of a second of each other, third and fifth on the grid. I think Bermuda are going to be really pleased with that one.
Yeah, much as it worked well in the recent test here, and both riders were buoyant about the possibility of maybe even being able to challenge on podium pace, and with the right grid position, that makes it much more of a possibility. You think back to Alex Lowe's performances. He has had a fourth place in race one in Most, and when he qualified in fourth place, he was able to hold on to it. So there is an opportunity there for Bermuda to at least be in the reckoning, particularly if other riders get into trouble in that podium scrap.
Yeah, exactly. And you could see there for Bulliger, they're 0.7 of a second faster than the lap record coming into this session. And obviously we've got new tyre this weekend, which is going to play into that, but that is still a ridiculous performance from both himself and Toprak to up there at the top of the times.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right to highlight the new qualifying tyre, and yet the pace just in free practice 3 this morning was already close, and that was without using the Q tyre. So there is a big step in performance, and particularly from Bulliger, and from Bulliger this season has made a massive step forward, certainly compared to when we visited Misano this time last year.
Yeah, and for Toprak and for Bulliger, they didn't use the Q tyre during the course of today's FP3 session, it looked like, but Bulliger seemed to put one in yesterday as well, so he had a bit of experience coming into this session, but they've been able to find it when it mattered in the Superpole session. The same could be said for Remy Gardner. You can see there at number 87, he came across the line and he was celebrating that like it was a pole, because he knew he got absolutely everything he could out of that Yamaha. Second row of the grid's good effort by him.
Yes, P12 in the championship, Remy Gardner, P8 on average in Superpole, so P6, a place on the second row of the grid for the second time in 2 rounds, because last time out as well in Most he was P6, and Remy Gardner posted one of only 2 front row starts in WorldSBK here last season, so we know he goes well in Misano, but great way to bounce back from what was a challenging FP2 session yesterday afternoon for Gardner.